Well, hello everybody. How you doing? Dave Fennoy here, and welcome to another Ask Dave Fennoy Anything. Wow, this is the last day of September, heading into October tomorrow, and boy, time flies. But the way 2020 has been going, I don't think any of us will be sad to see it go. But I'm also a little worried about 2021. We'll find out. A couple announcements. Those of you who would like to take some Dave Fennoy training, you can hit me up at davefennoy.com. And for all of these shows, Ask Dave Fennoy Anything, they are all on my YouTube channel, Dave Fennoy Voiceover Training. And coming up in subsequent weeks, we'll have Anthony Mendez. We'll have Raul Aldana, who has spent his career in the dubbing business. Robert Clotworthy and Dave Walsh coming up in a few weeks. But right now, when I started putting a home studio together, the only guy that I knew of who was doing any of this was a fellow by the name of George Whittam. And ladies and gentlemen, Mr. George Whittam. Yay!
Hey, what's up, everybody?
I'm gonna put you on the other side of me. There you go. You can't see that, but they can.
I believe you.
And it's funny because, you get George because you don't want to have technical problems. And when we got on here, he couldn't get his Skype going. He couldn't get the camera happening. And, he finally got on 60 seconds before we were doing this. How you feeling, man?
I'm just relieved to be here right now. It's been a trial of a week. I relocated from Topanga to Venice, California, in a rather sudden fashion.
Okay.
And I'm in a very vacant room. You can
yeah.
probably hear it. It actually sounds the way this fake backdrop looks.
So you're picking up and moving out.
Yeah, we did it. I mean, as of an hour ago, I had just left my old house after literally cleaning the oven.
Wow.
That's where I'm at. And so if I look a little disheveled, I just got out of the shower.
Well, everybody looks a little disheveled these days. Nobody has anywhere to go really. So we're all, I nice shirt, but underwear underneath. No, I got pants on.
I actually put on shorts.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. So the whole idea of somebody becoming the studio guru, the guy to put together just about everybody's voiceover booth in LA for many years. There's some other people that are doing it now, but you have been the guy for a long time. Now, how did you get started? What was your education? Were you just a sound nerd, or did you go to school for this? Tell me your story.
Definitely like all the above, right? Because sound has always been something I was interested in from the time that my dad gave me. Actually, from the time that my grandmother put a little, dictaphone type microphone in front of me and had me record a story into a cassette recorder. And then, my dad just was in AV world. He was in photography, and he would hand me tape recorders and things to play with. So I've always liked audio, and then later in life video as well, when we got our first family video camera in mid 80s. So I've always just loved AV. So I'm a huge AV nerd for sure. But then, this could go for a half hour, so I'll try to do the 3-minute version. Then I ended up at Virginia Tech studying electrical engineering. Almost failed out and transferred to music because electrical engineering was crazy hard. Graduated with a music degree, and then started a recording business with my dad back in Philadelphia area called El Dorado Recording Services. We made an old RV camper into a studio control room, and I would record live bands all over town, Delaware.
Now, there were studios in town. The idea was to set up a mobile unit that you could take to live music and help bands get their stuff recorded.
Yeah, this wasn't certainly a new thing, but I didn't know anybody else doing it, and I certainly didn't know anybody in Philly doing this thing. So it just seemed like a really cool thing, an opportunity, and we already had the RV, the old camper,
Oh boy.
1973
Oh
camper.
boy. Oh
So
boy.
imagine seeing one of those things you see pulled up in Venice Beach, along the road all the time,
Yeah.
parked outside of a venue or a church with a big long cable coming out of the back, snake running in, and I'd be sitting out there in crazy neighborhoods in my RV recording gospel concerts and all kinds of crazy stuff. So it was a really fun ride, but things changed, and then I ended up in LA after a stint in radio broadcasts as an engineer working for Eagles Radio Network doing football games. And little did I know that connection would change everything because of that I got experience with ISDN. We were using it in all the stadiums. It was the key thing to bring our radio show from the stadium to the world. And that experience of run and gun, make it work, you're on deadline, problem solve on the fly.
Oh, so this little 60-second get the Skype camera going was nothing.
Just a drill. Just a drill. So it's always been for me like solve problems fast, keep it moving, and never look like anything went wrong. That's kind of been my thing. And so, and then I got to meet an engineer, a producer in Philly at the station. It was 94 WYSP, who went on to an illustrious voiceover career named Howard Parker. Howard, I call my client Zero, because from him,
you know
he
what? With
introduced
the
me-
pandemic going on, maybe
Maybe
client zero isn't.
bad timing for client Zero, yeah. And then he introduced me to Jason Marks Talent, his manager, and Jason introduced me to Rick Wasserman and Rick Robles and Melissa Disney. And I think maybe 6 months later, I'm in Don LaFontaine's house. So it was just like, it happened very quickly.
And what years were those? What year was that?
It would be 2005 to 2006.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
about right. And
Yeah.
that's about the time. Well, let's see. We were getting home studios then. Oh yeah, I'd had my home studio for a while by then. And it was where ISDN was really becoming popular for those of us who did TV promos. I mean, that was one of the reasons I did it. I look at how the technology changed over the years, faster and faster and faster. I remember go to your agent, go to your or a casting place, go to someplace else to do the job. If you were going to audition, it was 1/4-inch tape. You had to send it someplace. That was a cost. Then we had cassettes. Then we had DATs and.
I started the whole pro audio in the DAT era.
Oh boy. Okay.
That's where I stepped in. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and I'd had a studio before the DAT era, and I remember it really changed. One time I bought a cassette DAT machine because it had changed so fast, so it had something I could record and play from both. And within 6 months, DAT was gone. And then it was CDs.
Right. CDR.
And I had agents here and in New York, so if you had to get that audition in, you had to get it done and to the post office or FedEx before 4:30.
That's right. That's right.
Man.
The first CD I burned for a college demo project was 15. Each disc, each blank was $15.
Yeah.
I remember that.
Yeah. And now you just send an MP3 and
off you go.
So you started working with Don LaFontaine, and of course, once you get the blessing from the Don, you're good to go. Now, I've visited your website, and you have helped me on a few occasions in my studio as well. What's the biggest change going on right now? I imagine because of the pandemic, people are scrambling to get home studios. What's the big mistake they're making?
Waiting this long.
Like the mistake you can't fix.
Yeah, it's already done, right? Procrastinating and avoiding it for many, many years. All the folks like you, Dave, and people that work in promo and games and things that people have been doing from home for years we're in a great position to be prepared for this. And for me, as a work at home business who literally works from home, supporting work from home clients, I was sitting pretty. I was in the catbird seat when the virus hit. I was ready to go. I just had to be ready to work a little bit harder, work more hours, but drive around a lot less. So it really worked out well. But what, yeah, people are not doing well. Are they're just, yeah, they waited for the last minute, and then they're getting really crazy advice. Anywhere from all you need is a snowball mic to you can't bother, don't bother auditioning unless you have Source Connect and a U87. And
Wow.
it's everywhere in between,
From from
right?
from the sky to the basement.
Exactly. So they're like, I don't know what the heck I really actually need. And so it's very intimidating for these folks who seasoned veteran actors,
Yeah.
years of experience doing animation, Nickelodeon, Disney, all sorts of animation work that have always gone into the studio. Now all of a sudden we're freaking out. And there was like a huge wave in March and April where things just went berserk. And then that wave just kind of kept going as more and more productions stopped procrastinating and realized, nope, we are going to be doing
Well,
this for a
I
while.
think people thought. I think when we first went into the lockdown, the quarantine, it was going to be 3 weeks, a month, and if we did that, fine, we'd get it over with, and we could move on with our lives. Um, and then not everybody wore their mask. Not everybody was compliant with the suggestions, and it just didn't go away. It just didn't go away. They handled it in New York, where it was really raging. I have a daughter. It's a emergency room physician there, and she was in the middle
Wow.
of it. And this thing really is horrible.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes I think when you're walking around and you're seeing people and you're feeling good and you've got your mask on when you're around people, maybe you're out in the woods and you don't have your mask on, and it you're going to the grocery store and people are doing, they got their masks on, and you're thinking, well, I'm not seeing anybody sick. I
Right.
feel okay. Cars are going up and down the road. We're in the stores, and
Mm-hmm.
maybe it's not as bad as, no, it's as bad. It's as bad.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Uh, and
Yep.
and I don't think it's going to change for a while for a number of
Right.
reasons. So, what would be your advice? Somebody that wants to put together a good sounding studio on a budget.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um,
So let's set aside what I consider like an edge case,
mhm,
which is voicing video games.
mhm.
I
Oh,
have found that
you pick one of the toughest things to do.
it's one of the toughest things to do, and the studios that produce these, the producers themselves, the audio engineers,
Hmm.
are sticklers about quality, and they
Yes.
have very stringent. And you've probably received these 2, 3 page PDFs, right? Saying
You
what we
know,
want.
it has become a part of my website now, and a part
Yeah,
of my introduction to new clients of what my studio is, what equipment I have.
that's right. That's right. Until the pandemic, it did matter the quality, but now it's like they're prejudging your sound based on this list of criteria.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so let's put that aside because that really is a specific thing and they're really looking for a lot of criteria. But let's say you just need to keep those auditions going and be able to keep doing commercial work and keep being able to do that kind of work. If no one's breathing down your neck about specific gear, there are amazing values to be had and you don't have to go crazy. Now, while you could get a USB mic that is technically good enough in quality, I wouldn't go there. I'd go a step better and go with a professional condenser mic that has an XLR and then plugs into an interface.
Yeah.
Now, I did a series of tests with interfaces actually, I don't know, earlier this year with Dan Leonard. We did this USB audio interface shootout.
And by
And
the
we
way,
put,
mention your show, you and Dan.
yes, yeah, we did it as a segment and it was aired on my show VOBS, Voiceover Body Shop with Dan Leonard, which we've been doing for 9.5 years.
Yeah, I've been a guest on your show.
Yeah. And we decided we should compare all these things because it was kind of, people were getting sold on needing really expensive gear because they're told, well, if you don't buy the best thing, it's not going to sound good. So we wanted to show really clearly, listen, you can buy $100 Scarlett Solo and it's going to sound 99% as good as something 5, 7 times more expensive. And we proved that. We did a great test. So you can get really good audio, even with a basic Scarlett Solo of something of that grade, and then just get a decent mic. Now, I've kind of been on a road kick lately. Again, I'm a little biased. I try to stay neutral, but I will say that I'm biased because I do another show called the Pro Audio Suite. It's a podcast, and we are supported by Rode. So as a result, we have
So
a
they're
lot of Rode
paying you to
mics. We get a lot of Rode mics. I'm talking into one right now. But what I've discovered in using Rode, and I've used everything, right? I've used Sennheisers, Neumanns, Audio Technicas, MXLs, on and on. There's a lot of new brands out there. They're a really good value proposition. So you get good quality for not a lot of money. They have a good warranty, and their quality control is really good. You know that what you're going to get when you get one of their mics.
Yeah.
So I'm finding that the Rode NT1 is a really great mic for under $300. And then if you want a shotgun mic and a Sennheiser 416, which is you know, that is bog standard.
Industry standard.
It is. We used to say we hate saying that, but it's just true.
It's just true.
If that one is just a little rich for your blood, I would recommend Rode NTG5 for $500. It sounds incredible. Really good.
Now let me ask you this. The 416, the Rode, you say it sounds incredible, but one of the things I'm noticing, since people are asking for brand names, what microphone do you have? Are you getting any fallout from, oh, well, that's a Rode. I'd really rather have you have a Sennheiser or Neumann?
I'm not hearing it directly. I'm just seeing that there are these PDFs going around, and then from the agents and things, and they say things like, would prefer microphones like a Neumann TLM 103 or a Neumann U87.
Yeah.
And of course, that means they want a mic that sounds like one of those, or is in that ballpark in terms of quality.
As a matter of fact, I even notice the 416 for video games is typically not on the list. They're usually looking for a large diaphragm mic. And they even mention the 103, and I think every now and then there's a U87, but I think they say, well, that might be a little too much for them. But a 103 they could probably afford. But I still, I have one hanging, and from time to time I use it, but I'm still 90% of the time I'm using that 416 and I get no complaints.
That's the thing about a mic. You know, the TLM 103 and mics of that design and mics of that quality, they thrive in a big commercial studio environment, like a large room with high ceilings, the way you see the way you see animations often recorded in these amazing spaces. Those microphones thrive in those environments. They're amazing. When you shove them into small booths and boxes and things, they're a lot harder to get to sound really great. And there's something about the shotgun mic, 416, and the Rhodes and other shotgun mics of that design that just work well in those environments. They're easier to get a really great sound. They're more forgiving. The mics actually take a lot more abuse as well. You can throw them in a bag and travel with them, not worry about them getting broken. So they're just super versatile. They just check a lot of boxes, and they just sound good. So it's tough to beat. I have a lot of clients that have both, and they sometimes just, well, like you said, you have several, I know. You end up falling back on a 416.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. I sometimes have conversations. Dave, why did you buy another mic? I don't know. I just wanted another mic. I wanted to check it out. You wanted to check it out? I wanted to check it out. And
mics are shoes. You get another pair of Noah Blahniks.
And every now and then I'll hang a new mic and use it for a while. It's two things. One, I just like microphones, and two, every now and then, you're looking for some edge. You're not feeling like, oh yeah, maybe I'm not. How come I'm not liking my? You get used to yourself. Oh God, Fennoy, what? And you want to try something else. Oh, maybe I need to shake it up. Let me do this. And it always comes back to, no, you're either good or you're not good. And this mic works great, but the old tried and true. There's just something about that 416, something about that 103. And to me, those two, even more than the U87, because the
Yeah.
U87 is so finicky. I'm sorry, this is a small room. I can't work in here.
Well, I will tell you a trick. So if you happen to just have a U87 because you're blessed, um, try flicking that thing in figure eight mode. The last thing you'd probably think of trying, but switch the pattern on the front, the little dial from the heart, upside down heart booty shape thing
Uh huh.
to the figure eight thing, and all of a sudden the mic changes personalities completely, and sometimes it sounds, actually almost always sounds way better in a small
Wow.
booth or in a
Now,
booth.
well,
So
see, now
it's a fun
I
trick.
got some things to do over the weekend. I
Exactly.
actually I'm switching up. Going to be doing a few things in my studio over the weekend, um, and I think I'll try that because
Try it
I
out.
have a U87 that well, it's not collecting dust, but the box it's in is. Let me.
Try it out. You might find, whoa, I'm gonna go back to this mic for a while. It has a different tonal balance and it just changes the mic's personality. It's like a
Okay.
whole different alter ego.
Let's get a question here. Marion and Toro, good evening, Dave and George. George, I'm going to buy a Sennheiser MK416, MKH416. I currently have a Scarlett Focusrite and Cloud Lifter. Is there anything else I'll need?
I'll tell you what you don't need is the cloud lifter. So that was a gadget invented by Roger Cloud, who built ribbon mics as a way to boost the output of a very low output microphone,
Yeah.
ribbon mics and dynamic mics. So you won't need that. In fact, it won't work with this condenser mic because it blocks the phantom power. So you don't want that. So leave that out. But you just need a good environment. My environment right now, if you're listening on headphones, it ain't so hot. I
Yeah.
have like I have literally have three panels that I happen to already have laying around my room in weird different spots, trying to make the echo go away.
Yeah, but it doesn't sound
But
as bad as it might.
yeah, if I didn't have these three panels, there's one. I should turn off the backdrop, but there's one propped up on a high stool right behind me, like precariously just leaning there, just to do anything that I can to get rid of the echo. But you need to make sure your environment is in good shape acoustically. Try to eliminate the room reverb, the boxiness if you're in a closet, the hollow boxiness, and obviously try to get in a quiet location. I can literally see airplanes from Santa Monica Airport out my window. Not so great. As soon as I moved in here, I thought, my God, I'm glad I'm not a voice actor. This place would be tough,
There was
tough.
a brief period where I had sold my house in Altadena and I was looking for a new house. The house that I was going to get it fell through, so just had to go into a condo for a while.
Hmm. Hmm.
And the condo that I ended up in was over near the Burbank Airport.
Yeah.
And first thing in the morning and about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, it was just madness.
Yeah.
I had a whisper room, a smaller one than I have now, but that kind of worked. But
A little bit.
it
Yeah.
it can be tough. A whisper room, whatever you've got as a booth, is not going to cut out all the noise.
Exactly, yeah. In fact, I'm in the middle of designing and consulting on a studio that's being converted out of a two-car garage that is about as close to the takeoff area of Burbank as you can get.
Oh
It
wow!
is very challenging. So,
I've got another question here for you, and
yeah,
we'll kind of because I know there are going to be a ton of questions here.
yeah,
Michael Sessoms, George, what is the best soundproofing to block outside noise? Rock, wool, foam, other?
yeah. I mean, all those materials are almost completely ineffective for noise. So, the only way to stop noise is you need to have mass, air, space, and mass. And then on either side of that, everything has to be airtight. So you've got an airtight seal, air space, and an airtight seal.
So
That's essentially
triple
how it
pane windows. That's why they make a difference in
exactly what I was
noise
going to
in
say.
your home. Yeah, the thing I notice is, although I live in a quiet neighborhood, if the gardeners are blowing, the dogs are barking, huge trucks rolling by,
Hmm.
for some reason, if nothing else, the vibration is going to get you.
Yeah. Yeah, the vibration is the most difficult because it doesn't just come through a wall or a ceiling or a window. It's actually vibrating the entire building. So the outside of the building is like a microphone, and the inside of your room is like a speaker. So it transduces that noise, and so it resonates through, it comes out of all the walls. It's not just coming out from one place. And that's why soundproofing can't be done by gluing something over here or hanging something over there. It requires a holistic approach to stop noise. You can improve windows. In fact, I fully intend to set up insert some like plexiglass type material into these windows that I can insert when
Now
I
you're gonna,
really need quiet.
so you're talking about in the frame, so you've got space between the window and your, yeah, okay. You're not just
Yeah,
gluing them right onto the glass.
yeah, I'm not gonna because I'm renting and it's old casement windows. These are difficult because the windowsill is very shallow. I have very little room to do it, so it's gonna be interesting. But I will probably do that because I have two large 1950s era single pane double, casement windows next
Yeah.
to me. So it's not ideal. But yeah, if you can choose a space wisely where you don't have that situation, if I was a voice actor, this would not have been high on my list of places I'd want to live because it's got windows and three sides.
So if you're a voiceover actor, find a place with no windows, interior of the building, away from the street, no schools nearby, and certainly no trucking companies.
Oh no, Burbank Airport.
No,
Yeah.
no, and no airports.
You know what's the craziest thing is the studio zone, quote unquote, is centered around Studio City, and a lot of Studio City is really in the flyover zone of Burbank. So
I've been there when
it's
it's plane,
crazy.
plane, hold. Okay, we're good. Um,
It's good to hear that. You know what? Actually, I want to tell everybody right now. So, Dave, what's the context? You're in a commercial studio when that happens, right?
yeah,
So keep that in mind, everybody. Even commercial studios, like the ones Dave's going to record, have to hold for the plane sometimes,
yeah,
and that's the
and
reality.
and you'd be surprised how many studios aren't up to par.
Hmm.
That you go in and I'm like, well, damn, I should have recorded this at home. Often it's a recording studio that, for whatever reason, they're not really equipped for voiceover.
Yeah, yeah, that sometimes.
And I sometimes they do a lot of sound, but they're a post house that happens
Right.
to, oh gee, let's take some of this voiceover business and we'll just throw a mic over here, and and sometimes they don't even spend the money to get a decent mic, and you're like, oh man, what, I could have done this from home and been better. Got a couple more questions here. Let's
Sure.
shoot these. Thomas, George, are you still hearing the big studios being snobbish about professional home studio gear? If your gear is not X mic and Y preamp interface, don't bother?
Well, yeah, I think yeah, we're kind of talking about that subject. It's a moving target because it's completely dependent on the production and the producer and how particular they are. I was going to use another word, but and and so the more that the engineer him or herself has to say in what you're using, the more particular the production is going to be about it. But
Okay.
a lot of times they're going to get an audition from you. If your quality sounds good, it is good.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's just they want the job they want it to sound good. That's what matters. And if they know what they're doing as producers and engineers, they're going to take a clean signal with no distortion and no echo and make it sound amazing.
Yeah.
It's not rocket science.
But they're not wanting files that you have sweetened.
Yeah, well, that's true. Like for production, if there's an engineer involved, trust me, they don't want it pre-messed with. They don't want anything on it. When I talk about this subject with two of my buddies on Pro Audio Suite, there's two producers on our show. Boy, do they hate it when I talk about front-end processing or actors using processing on their Source Connect sessions or whatever it is. They're like, no, please don't do that. But the vast majority of the work you guys are going to be doing probably don't have an engineer. They're probably a video editor, a video editing person in an editing bay or who knows where, working from home probably, just taking your voice track and then dropping it into a Final Cut or some kind of production timeline, and they're going to do their best to make it sound good, but they don't know how to produce audio. They know how to cut video. They'll make a great looking commercial. They don't know audio. So in those cases, again, probably the majority of what the work you're doing out there is, unless you have an agent and you're doing big commercial gigs, probably the majority you have to send out pre-sweetened.
Oh boy.
They need to hear it the way it should sound when it's finished. You gotta, and if you don't know, you got to ask.
Yeah.
And if they don't know, God help you. I hope I hope you have good audio to start with, and hopefully you've worked with me at some point to make sure that you're sending out great audio.
Okay, here's an old buddy of mine. Used to work with her when I was in radio. My last radio gig here, Jazz FM. Brooke Jones, MP3 or WAV file, which is best for emailing VO?
So WAV files are like what we call the raw or uncompressed audio. So that's really the best quality you're ever going to get, and that's how you should record absolutely everything that you do. However, when you're sending a file in, and I'm talking about 99% of the time, we're talking about auditions in this case, they're going to want an MP3. And it's just because an MP3 is a what's called a lossy file, a lossy format that's squished that WAV file into a much smaller package so it can be emailed practically.
Yeah.
And so that's the reason MP3s have become the norm.
Let me ask you this.
Sometimes used in production, but not usually.
Can you hear the difference between the WAV file and an MP3 file?
Honestly, like if I'm using like my favorite DAW, like Twisted Wave or something, and I just save it in its best quality setting, mono, 128 kilobit per second MP3 mode, it is essentially indistinguishable from the WAV to my ears.
Yeah.
It really is that close. So again, you wouldn't want it to be used in production, because when they MP3 it and go to a WAV and then they go back, when you go back and forth, it's like tape generation loss.
Yeah.
Like, remember dubbing cassettes for friends?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It's like that. You don't want to do that.
Well, it's interesting because one of the things I've noticed now, you'll do an audition and send it in as an audition on MP3, and your agent calls your email. Oh yeah, you got the gig, and oh yeah, when's the session? They're just going to use your audition. So oftentimes the MP3 is indistinguishable for the client. And just a word to the wise there, if you're doing an audition for a 30-second commercial, make it 29.5. 60-second commercial, make it 59.5. Give them that commercial in the time they want it, and maybe you get paid without doing it again.
Brilliant idea.
Just a thought.
Tip.
Just a thought. It's happened too many times.
Good chance if they take your MP3 and it goes to finish, there's a really good chance there's not an audio engineer on that production. Just saying.
Oh, so you're saying somebody didn't know what they were doing. Anyway.
It means there's a video producer who's really good at what they're doing, and they're like, it sounds good enough for me. Let's get this thing done.
Got another question here. For auditions, if the client doesn't specify, is there a peak and RMS we should be looking at to have the best chance of winning the audition?
Ooh, man.
Yeah.
There is no standard, but I've been telling folks for 10, 12 years now to have peaks that are usually around -3. So I almost always recommend at some point in the workflow of your production that you normalize the audio to -3, like get it to that peak.
And I have told students that for years, and recently, since I've been doing some video games from my home studio, one of the things I've noticed is they want it less. They want you to record from about 12 to -6. -12 to -6.
Even lower. I've seen -18.
Wow. And I guess
really low.
I guess it's easier now digitally to have a lower signal sound okay. And I hope we're not getting too deep in the woods for people who aren't super technical, but hey, that's why you're here. And I was surprised. I was surprised that they wanted it that low, and I think it was because It's more of a problem to make something that's too loud, that's peaking into the red and clipping. It's more difficult to make that sound good, if
Right.
possible at all, than to make something that's been recorded fairly low.
Yeah, especially in the era of 24-bit analog to digital converters, which is in pretty much every audio interface that you buy now. Even a Scarlett Solo has 24-bit converters. So if you record your files in 24-bit wave, 44.1 or 48K sample rate, either one, depending on what they want, you're going to be fine. Because at 24-bit, you really can peak down at -18, -20, and once it's been adjusted up or gained up, normalized, there is no loss of quality. There just isn't. So it is a way that things are going these days. They just want to guarantee there's no clipping, exactly like you just said. So,
Yeah.
and then average RMS, there's no standard either. It's going to be somewhere between -24 and -18, maybe.
RMS
minus
stands for
20.
what?
Well, technically it means root mean squared, which I guess is the way that the algorithm calculates what the average is. But it's basically average volume. It's the average, how loud the audio is for the duration of the entire file,
Oh, okay.
mathematically.
Okay.
That's what it is. So
And
in audiobook land, it's -23 to -18 is the range that they expect. And just so happens that kind of works out for a lot of stuff. You end up in this -20 range. If that's where you're ending up most of the time, you should be.
and this was the first time I had ever seen that. How do you know if you're in that range or out of that range? Say you've got twisted wave and you're recording. What lets you know what your RMS is?
Yeah. Like if you have your meter, like in twisted wave, there's two numbers. There's a peak number at the very top of the meter, and there's an average number at the bottom.
And it's
Now, I'm not saying you should look at that number while you're recording, because you can't. You need to act.
yes.
Don't engineer yourself while you're acting. Like, do your preparation, then change your hat around and be an actor. Don't try and do both. But you can, at least when you do some tests, look at that average meter and see where you're coming in. But really the best thing to do is just do an analyze. So in Twisted Wave, you just take your finished file and go File, and then in the File menu, choose Analyze. Pretty much all the applications have some form of this, Reaper, Adobe Audition, and then it'll tell you. It'll give you all this data, peak, level, average, more than you need, and in there will be an average number, and that's how you can check before you send it, how it's coming in.
Okay, and I'll probably never do that.
Probably don't need to.
I got another question. Michael Woodley. Hi, George. I'm running Catalina version 10.15.6. And ever since I updated to Catalina, I'm unable to open Audacity and record. I have to either code into the terminal in order to get it to work. Is there any better workaround for this? Why did you upgrade to Catalina?
Yeah, I got a couple answers. Yeah, you're on Catalina now, and guess what's coming right around the corner? Big Sur. Don't go there yet, folks.
No, man. I still haven't gone to Catalina.
Yeah, no, believe me, count your blessings. On Catalina, it's like every damn thing you do on the computer is a virus. Like the Mac is acting like you're attacking it.
Yeah.
Every time you install something, it's really annoying.
Yeah.
But anyway, there are, I believe, Audacity did push a new update to make it easier to install and run it on Catalina.
Yeah.
So just go to the Audacity install. I think it's audacity.org. I think it is, or something like that, and just go and get the latest update, because I'm 99% sure they've dealt with the Catalina.
Audacity is still free, right?
It's still free.
How do they make money?
Yeah, that's why it took them such a long time to get up to Catalina speed. I don't know how they make money. It's one of those community-supported applications, and it's a labor of love by a bunch of software engineers. And I don't know why they do it, other than just for the fun of it, the thrill of it, the community of it,
Yeah.
And just knowing that you're working on something that's being used by probably hundreds of thousands, if not millions.
Absolutely hundreds of thousands of people, and God bless them for it. We need a few more people in the world like that do stuff like this for free. Nathan Noakes, what is the benefit of a preamp as opposed to a Focusrite Solo, or is there?
That's a great question. So when you buy a Focusrite Scarlett Solo, you're getting a preamp. It's just built into the box. It's internal. When you buy an external preamp, the main goal of an external rack-mounted piece of gear that we think of as a preamp is to somehow give the sound some kind of character, a little bit of warmth or a little bit of distortion or crunch or whatever it is that preamp design does. That's what it's designed to do. So essentially, maybe 15 years ago, I'd say, oh, you'd never use the preamps built into one of those old M boxes or one of the old interfaces. But now the preamps are so good after years of development that they sound good enough for voiceover.
Yeah.
And people will look at that and go, well, that can't be good enough. How can that be good? Trust me, it is. As I mentioned before, we did a shootout between a lot of gear at different price ranges. And the chip in these preamps now is really excellent. And so you don't need that standalone box. If you really want it someday, again, like Dave said, sometimes I just want to get another mic. Some people just get another preamp because they want a different shade of mauve.
Yeah.
They don't like the mauve that they're doing. They just want a little different shade of mauve.
It's just a little too dark.
So you get a different preamp. It's an obsession. It's like shoes.
I got another one here from Michael Scott. I'm having an issue with my Syn 416 cutting off while running Adobe Audition. Any recommendations?
Well, I mean, the thing that's the go-between between the mic and Audition is the key thing that you didn't mention. That's the mic cutting off is not likely the problem. I've never heard of a 416 just cutting off.
Yeah.
And Adobe Audition itself could have an issue, but it's more likely the interface, the thing that's the AD converter, the thing that plugs your microphone into your computer. That's by far the most likely culprit, because sound drivers, and if it's on Windows, again, God help you, the driver issues are far, far greater, far more problems, far more variety and versions of drivers. And so you really want to look into the hardware, the interface you're using, and make sure you're on the right driver, the most up-to-date driver. Make sure your Audition is using the correct driver. When there's like 5 to choose from, make sure you're using the right one. And if all else fails, you've done all of that, contact your interface manufacturer. But again,
I've got another solution. Get Twisted Wave.
It's something simpler.
It's so simple. I still have Pro Tools and use it from time to time when I have to mix some things together. But I had bought a computer, had upgraded to a computer. It was a Fusion drive. Everybody told me that my Pro Tools guy told me, oh, no problem, go ahead. And the Pro Tools, it was just too finicky. It would shut down. You'd be, recording, 30 seconds in, gone. And I started using Twisted Wave then, and I've never looked back. I don't have the Fusion drive anymore, and it works fine now. But it's so simple.
Like a nice tape recorder.
And I look at the number of people who are jumping into the home studio market now because of the pandemic. And I just think it's a better choice for most people who are just doing voiceover because it's cheaper, it's simpler. And the whole idea of when I came in, I went into a studio and, they set all I had to do was perform. We're not in that world anymore. And the simpler you can make it for yourself, so you don't have to think about this and think about, and now act, the better.
I can almost guarantee that he is probably on a Windows machine. And the reason why I say that is, these types of issues are so rare in the Mac environment.
Did you hear that, PC people?
And I know I get flamed by the Windows fans for saying this, but trust me, like, I support thousands of you guys out there. In aggregate, I know what works and what doesn't work. And so when somebody connects with me in their own Windows, I'm like, oh God, oh, what's going to go wrong during our session? Is Zoom going to interfere with Audition? Is the audio going to cut out? Guarantee something just doesn't work and we have to troubleshoot it. It's a big pain. And people say, well, they're too expensive. I'm like, I argue against that and say, go buy a refurbished one or a used one. You can get a used Mac Mini for $300-400, and they're drop dead reliable.
Yeah.
So, I'm telling you guys, think of this computer as an appliance that's designed to do a job. And that job is record audio reliably and have no issues. Now, if you listen to all that and you're like, still, screw you, man, I'm not buying a Mac. If I get it, then get a standalone recorder. Get like a dedicated device that does the recording, like a Zoom H5 or something like that. That's just a little device that you can plug your mic into. At least you have something that's designed to do one job, and that's record audio.
And that's your backup.
That's your backup.
Yeah.
I mean, it can be your primary thing. Some people still do this. It's less efficient. You gotta take a memory card out and plug it into the computer. It's not slick. But if you have no other choice, that's going to be more reliable than probably what you're doing now.
Okay, I've got a bunch of questions here. I'm going to jump through. Sylvain, hi, George. Could you talk to us about your sound booth? How does it react in a noisy neighborhood? And I think we kind of covered that. The booth is going to cut some of the noise, but it's not going to cut all of the noise. And the idea is to keep the noise inside, have it sucked up by whatever you have in there dampening the sound, and keep some of the sound out, but it's not going to keep it all out. What would be the percentage, would you say?
Well, sound is such a weird thing. It's so hard to describe it in percentages, because when people think it's twice as quiet or twice as loud, on the dB meter, that's 6 dB. So when you go up or down 6, that's half as much, or going up twice as much, right?
Yeah.
It's really weird stuff, sound, the way it works. So with a booth, you might expect it to knock down the background noise between 70 and 90%. And that might be enough in your case, except that last 10%. That last 10% may still not be enough to get rid of that really loud thing that's right outside your building or down your hall or upstairs. And those are the cases where you have to be concerned about that.
Okay, let's see. John Groves. Hi, Dave and George. I just switched from using a Mac for years, using Twisted Wave, to a Dell PC. What is your recommendation for editing, pairing these two?
I guess you weren't listening earlier, but anyway.
He might have. We're a little behind. That might have come in before.
That's okay. No, I know, John. I know. Believe me, there's people that are philosophically won't buy another Apple computer, right? And they've had it and they go buy a Dell PC. Adobe Audition is the best universal application, I think, that's on both platforms. It works the same on both Mac and PC. And it really is Twisted Wave, kind of Audition is like Twisted Wave on steroids. It has the simple waveform editing mode like Twisted Wave, but then it has this huge multi-track feature that's baked into it. So it's a much heavier program.
And you can repair sound, as they say.
It's got like Photoshop for audio. You can go in there and literally paint out noises.
I sound fat on this. I'm going to suck out a few pounds.
Exactly. Yeah, you can do that. But yeah, that would be my recommendation on a Windows machine.
Okay. Theo, what's going on? I'm pretty limited to what I can do in terms of sound treatment in my apartment. I was thinking of using GIC Acoustics portable isolation booths and some acoustic blankets for sound treatment. Would that be sufficient?
Everybody hates the answer, it depends. But it does depend.
What is GIC Acoustics?
Oh, GIC. That's actually, I think that's GIK, actually.
GIK?
Yeah, it's a fella's initials, and it's GIK, and they're actually a really great company. They have a great variety of products. Some of the stuff looks amazing. Like if you're really into aesthetics, Some of the panels look really like almost like Art Deco. They have really cool designs.
Hmm.
But yeah, they've got awesome stuff, and you will get a great sounding studio. None of that stuff's going to be soundproofing. So
Yeah.
it will reduce a little bit of ambient background noise just by nature, but you're still going to hear that airplane going by like I'm listening to right now. And so you're going to have that issue even with those panels. Any of the portable booths, anything that you can stand up on a mic stand or just unfolds or comes shipped to you in a box that doesn't weigh 1,000 pounds, it's not soundproofing.
Yeah. Well, very little of it is. Now, have you not? Do you have or have you not uh, been a spokesperson for Portable Booth, or Porta Booth Pro, or?
Well, yeah, I mean, so because of Harlan Hogan's sponsorship of VoiceOver Body Shop since literally day one of our show, we've always talked about his product, and his product is a way to deal with room reflection and reverb
Yeah.
in less than perfect environments. So it's a great quick up solution, and it's clearly designed around traveling. I've actually helped co-design another product called TriBooth, which
Yeah.
is actually a completely floor standing product that you stand inside of, that's shipped to you in a duffel bag. It's still not soundproof. It
Well,
makes an
none of
awesome
it's going to
sounding
be.
environment.
None of it's going to be.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, you worked with Joe Cipriano on his booth, yes?
a couple of them.
A
Yeah.
couple of them.
Mhm.
Did you help him with the booth in Miami?
No, well, yeah, actually, I believe I did. I helped him remotely, so I can't remember where he was at the time. I believe he was in New York at one time, and I helped him with one there. And then I think he took the same ideas we did in New York
Yeah, and
and
took it to
transferred it to
Miami.
Miami.
I had him on,
Yeah,
and he talked about he had a very expensive studio here, booth here, and
yeah,
I think he said he spent $300 for his booth in Miami, and he said, and when you get down to it, they sound the same.
it's crazy, right?
And the only reason I bring that up because so many people are trying to set up home studios. The whole idea of acoustic blankets is a very good eye. But when you think acoustic, you're not thinking, oh, sound going away. Think sound dampening. The biggest problem we usually have is sound bouncing and giving that
Yeah,
echoey feel that we want to get rid of.
yeah, yeah, exactly. I mean, when I'm sure that when Joe looked for that place in Miami that they're living in to see their kids down there, their grandkids,
Yeah.
um, they looked at places that had a walk-in closet that was inside the building, not noisy. I
Not,
know
yeah, yeah,
Joe. I
yeah.
guarantee he checked to make sure that that's a big thing. If you start off with a walk-in closet that has no windows and it's away from the outside, you're way ahead of the game.
And then you
They
find
work
out you
really
got
well.
neighbors that are home all the time and fight. Um,
Yes.
um, real quick, the Tri booth.
The
Thomas
try booth.
mentioned asked to mention the Tri booth.
Was that Tom Machin?
Yeah,
Tom, you're a good guy,
I
man.
love
He's a
him.
he's a he's a fan. He's a good dude.
He is a good dude.
Yeah. So Tri Booth I mentioned a minute ago. It's a pre-assembled moving blanket and PVC booth. So this is for people that have no interest whatsoever in doing it yourself and making one. This is a completely well thought out package. It weighs about 40 pounds, comes in a duffel or in a rolling suitcase for airplane travel, which we'll do again someday, trust me. And and it's just slick. It's well thought out. We've tried to think of everything. It includes mic arm and really nice lights inside and a copy holder and long power cord that reaches the outlet that's across the room. It's never near you we try to think of everything.
Yeah, yeah.
Rick Wasserman designed it with me, and he's using it. It's literally a product he designed for himself.
Thank you for
And
mentioning
then,
Rick. I want to get him on. Great guy and
awesome
great
dude,
talent.
awesome dude, yeah. And because of his need for it, it was invented out of necessity, and by accident it became a product. So that's why the thing exists. But it's that's what it is. And the other secret weapon includes me. So when you get the booth, I will listen to your audio and create you custom sound filters, stacks, plugin presets, whatever. to make you sound the best possible in a tri booth.
Did
So
you
that's a little
hear that,
extra.
everybody? The tri
Secret
booth,
sauce.
if you're looking for that booth, and once again, they're not soundproof, but they
Right.
keep the sound from bouncing around.
And our patents are pending.
Yeah. J. Horace Black says, "Hey Dave, hey George, great show as usual. This has
man.
become my midweek inspiration. Dave, will you
Good.
show us the pop filter that you use on your 416 that you mentioned last week on the show? George, will you talk about the booth tuning service that you offer and why one may need that for their space or new booth?" Okay, well,
Do you have
yeah,
that cool box?
you got one close by? I
I
can
don't
just
have
pop.
the one you have.
Well, why don't you talk about your
I'll talk about booth tuning.
Yeah, you talk about booth tuning
And
for a
you get the
second.
pop. Okay. So booth tuning is like, so let's say you bought a Whisper Room or one of the other big name booth sound studio bricks and etc. Most of them don't come out of the box tuned for voiceover very, very well. Studio Bricks has been doing a really good job of it lately. They've gotten a lot better. They have a voiceover edition. The Studio One Plus model is good. But again, pretty much all the booths that are out there that are prefabricated, they fall short in the acoustics department. So you can get an acoustics tune-up from me, and I'll make sure you get the right stuff, the right size panels, and tell you where they go. I can either just give you a list of what to buy, or I can draw it up in 3D and show you in your space where the panels go. And that's what that is all about. And that even works for a walk-in closet. So if you've got an under the stair closet or a walk-in closet, give me the dimensions and I can lay it out. So that's how that works.
Cool. I thought I would demonstrate it on a 416.
Nice.
Have you ever seen one
Whoa,
of these
yours
old
is
boxes?
in a wood box?
Yeah, man.
Whoa.
This one's I got a couple 416s.
Is that one is it a 416 or a 415? Do you know?
It's 416T.
Oh, the T, yeah.
Yeah.
Right. That's from
way
an
back
era
in the day.
Yeah, well, the T-Power came out because it was hard to have a phantom power device that was portable that runs on a battery.
Yeah.
Now we figured that out.
Yeah.
But
Oh, yeah.
back
They
in the
figured it
day,
out, and but
Sounds good, though.
I found that it was available. I thought it's kind of vintage.
Yeah.
Well, this.
Hold it in front of your face. See if that'll work. There you go. Yeah, we see it now. Looks
Yeah.
good.
There we go. And there's some rubber bands here, and you just fit that in there,
Yeah,
and there you have it. And
that's what it looks like.
that's what it looks like. And actually,
made by
these
the
are a
Hook.
little difficult to get right now.
Yep.
They're-
You know why? Because these are made in LA. These are they're made in small batches by a guy named, I believe they're made by Mike himself, Mike French, and he runs this company called The Hook. I have a history with this guy because he designed one for our show EWABS before VOBS, and it has a little logo emblazoned on the top screen. But
It's right here, thehookstudios.com.
yeah, really, really good quality products and very well designed and tested.
Well
And he's
designed,
always
very
improving.
simple. Yeah, very simple product.
There you
Let's
Squeezing one more,
see.
too.
Oh, Horse Dave, yes, I experienced that. Went right to the air for my audition. Let me say, okay, great. Doing an audition that went straight to air. Let's see. I'm trying to get as many on here as I can. Hi, Dave and George. Based on the noise discussion, what kind of condenser or dynamic microphone would you recommend if noise is very prominent within a budget, if possible?
Ooh, that's a good one too. So I would avoid dynamic mics because they're very hard to get great sounding voiceover with. So I wouldn't go dynamic.
Yeah, at all, ever.
Yeah, I really wouldn't. That's a podcast thing or a broadcast thing. I would go with either a shotgun microphone or try a microphone with a figure eight pattern. I mentioned this earlier. Figure eight pattern does some really weird things like, yes, it picks up what's behind it. So make sure that what's behind it
Is nothing.
quiet
Yeah.
or dead. But what it doesn't do is pick up everything around the mic, around the perimeter of the mic, So if you've got noise over here, noise over there, noise down below, noise above, figure eight mode rejects that. So I would look for mics that have a figure eight pattern, and they get down into you can find them for under $300. I've tried one recently. It was called the Vanguard V4. I was really impressed with it for the $400 price point that it was. I did a review on YouTube. You can Google it, but it was really impressive sounding, and it has that multi-pattern mode. So, they're out there and they're not that expensive now. They used to be. U87s were really one of the first to do it,
Yeah.
but now they're far more common.
It's 7 on the nose here. Can I keep you a little longer?
It's all good. If I start falling over, it's just because I
Just
haven't
because you're
eaten
so
yet.
tired. But no,
I'm just drinking water
George,
here to stay alive. That's it.
George, I so appreciate you, and you have just been a fixture in the voiceover business in LA for so long, and it's appreciated. And I know you do your show for free. You're here doing this for free, answering questions, but that's why I do this, so people can learn things that they need to learn. Let's see. Even Audacity has a Oh, I had a good question. I lost it. Let's see. Isabella Tugman, I'd love to hear your order of importance for each piece of your studio, mic, interface, cables, etc.
Awesome question too. So definitely number one, absolutely is acoustics. The way that room sounds is a huge percentage of the sound quality, right? The soundproofing and the how quiet it is. That's really important. Then would be the microphone. Then would be mic technique. You can buy a great mic, but if you know how to use it, it's useless. So learn your mic technique. And then would be everything else is so down the list at that point. An interface, headphones, Mac or PC, software, all that stuff has so little to do with the end result. It's really those first few things that really, really, really matter.
You want the room to sound right. You want
Yeah.
it to not have sound bounce, then a decent mic, a decent preamp,
Yeah.
and you're good to go. Michael Scott wrote back. He's been recording it. It's a MacBook Pro. It's not a PC. Heavens to Murgatroyd. Well, we don't know what
Well,
that will
dang
be.
it. It might be older. It might have a hard drive. There could be a lot of things. Reach out to Audition. Reach out to the company that makes the interface first, and then if all else fails, if you want to hire me, let me know at george.tech.
Okay. Tim Bamba, he leaves where you can get a Mac. So great Mac refurbs. Thank you, Tim. Appreciate that. Chris Lewis, I got my shotgun running through my 286s into my AGO 3 into the Ninja quiet laptop, nothing but net. Shut the door, and I'm right as rain and ready for Roger. Give or take that damn train. Okay. Okay. Janet Peters. Hey, Janet, how's that foot? What is Manly VoxBox? I attended a webinar the other night and was told it only costs about $129. When I did my research, I saw it for over $2,000. I am not understanding. I thought it was a plug-in to help our audio sound good. I'm so confused on this. And it's both, but I will let you run with that.
Oh man, I'd love to know who did that webinar because they certainly didn't explain you what they were talking about.
No.
So the VoxBox is a mic preamp processor. So it's got a preamp, a compressor, an EQ, and a de-esser actually, and it's made by a company called Manly. Manly, it's in Southern California. It's originally a big, huge piece of equipment that goes in a rack, and it was like $4,000+ for one of these. Well, then along comes this company called Universal Audio, and they developed this thing called Apollo. Apollo uses these virtual plugins that emulate or match the sound of the real thing, and sells the plugins. And so you can buy a plugin that is the VoxBox exactly, but in digital form, and it's usually like $300. Sometimes less. Sometimes you get coupons. Sometimes they have half-off deals. So you can find deals, but that's what that is.
And I switched over from my Inbox Pro to Universal Apollo. I've got the quad, and I love it. And the plugins are fantastic. Who's this? Joe Cipriano? I love George the Tech Whittam. And he also says hello. He's in Miami, I guess, right now. So There you
Love it.
go, hanging with the kids. One more here at least. I'm currently away in Canada from home in LA, where my mic is a Rode NT1A, and going into Long and McQuaid to rent some equipment for recording. I'd like to take the opportunity to try something else. If you've a good recommendation for a female voice who does VO and session singing.
Check out the Shure KSM32 and the AT4047 to name a couple that they may be renting.
Thoughts on one of my favorite products when I'm traveling, my Chaotica Eyeball.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that one works well with the Apogee mic.
Yeah.
I find that those two are almost a match made in heaven.
Yeah.
I find varied usefulness in terms of using it with other mics. It's one of those things that it could make the difference you need in some environments, and then in some other environments, you'll fall short. It won't be enough acoustic absorption and things like that. So if you want to be ultra portable, ultra lightweight, and not carry much more than a Nerf ball and a mic, that's basically something you can
goes in my
your
suitcase. It'll fold right down, pop right back. I use it with the Apogee mic, and I didn't like it when I first got it. They give them to us from time to time, and at conventions I would get them. I don't like this thing, and once I finally learned how to use it, it was great. Okay, getting down to it. Randy Thomas, just wanted to let her say hello. The Manley Vox Box is a preamp that is built for and paired with a Manley mic. I have them, and they are awesome. Let's see. Big Lou Johnson, I have it. My Apollo Twin X, he loves it. Susan Bernard, what interface would you recommend for U87 or 416? Does the interface work with both PC and Mac, or one better than the other?
I mean, I used to say you really should have a high quality interface when you match it with a really high end mic. It's really not true. I mean, you can plug a $3,000 U87 into a $100 Scarlett Solo, and it will sound perfectly fine. So you don't have to be so concerned about what the preamp actually is. If you really want to have a preamp that is worthy of plugging in a $3,000 mic, I would say check out the Grace M101. Super ultra clean, ultra quiet, really well made. And again, I'm biased. My cousin has worked for them off and on over the years.
And what's the price point on that Grace?
I think it's around $7 or $8.99.
Oh, that's not bad.
So it's not. We're not talking thousands.
Yeah.
But again, its job is not to add color. It's to boost the signal with no distortion. It's super, super clean.
Excellent. Well, I think I think I have abused you enough. There's no way I could get through all of the rest of these questions without
I guess that's a reason to come back, huh?
Absolutely. Oh, absolutely. But we'll let you get some rest. It'll be after the new year.
Sounds good.
But listen, George, thank you so much. You're just a wealth of knowledge, and I know you're in the middle of moving and still working. And I appreciate your spending the time and working those brain cells to remember all those things you needed to remember, the names, the numbers, the mics, the preamps, the this, the that, and the other. It means a lot, and I will see you soon.
Thanks, Dave. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, man.
Really appreciate it.
My pleasure. Well, there he was, George Whittam, and he is the home VO studio guru. Few others out there now, but he is the OG. And just want to thank him again. And it's George the Mic Tech, or George the Tech. Say it again.
You can go to georgethe.tech. That's my really short domain, or georgethetech.com.
georgethetech.com. georgethetech.com. georgethetech.com. And one other thing, this and all the other Ask Dave Fennoys will be posted later on, all the other ones are already there, but this will be posted later on my YouTube channel, which is, it's right, I can't point because the camera's backwards. Dave Fennoy, voiceover training on YouTube. Interested in voiceover lessons, private training, davefennoy.com. Stop by, sign up, and you'll get information about when these are happening every Wednesday, but you'll know who's coming on and a reminder. And also if I'm going to be teaching here or there, usually it'll be now here, doing some kind of webinar. Anyway, thanks for stopping by. I hope you learned something, and I will see you next Wednesday. All the best, everybody.